It's time for Pod of the Dead.
All right. Hello. Welcome to a new episode of Pod of the Dead Gaiden. On today's episode, I am without the ladies, but with me today, I'm your host, Nicholas. And with me today, I have Courtney Wyant from Nerdicide. Courtney?
Yeah. I'm from Nerdicide. It's a Instagram live show that me and my buddy Justin do. He lives out in California, but he's from here. We basically just rap about pop culture, toys. We're both avid toy collectors, pop culture morons. And then it really boils down to us being able to sit and chat. Like it's like our hangout session. We just happen to do it in front of people.
Yep. That's kind of how the Gaiden episodes are going. This is the second one. So first one was literally just our year-end bonus where we just talked about not even necessarily horror films, but just the shit that we came across this year that we really fucking liked. Whether that's metal albums, whether that's weird tentacle porn books, shit, like just all sorts of craziness like across the spectrum and stuff. So for this episode, I've known Courtney for many moons and stuff, and we basically hit it off long time ago at a metal show talking about the band Botch. From there we ended up being in bands and shit together, and our love of metal, hardcore, and horror films have always just kind of kept us interlinked for, good lord, 10-15 years. So
and I got to see Botch last year.
Yeah, did you go out to Chicago for that?
Yes. Yeah,
that's dope. I'm hoping they come around here because I'm not one to drive multiple states for a show.
Yeah, it was a trek because we literally left at like noon, and we drove straight there. I think we went in 8, and then we went to the show, and then we went to a bar where my buddy Chris, he had some friends that were in town in Chicago, so we went and hung out with them, got back in the car and drove straight back. And then we left from Findlay, so I had to drive. As soon as we got out of the car, I drove back home. I think I got home at like 7 a.m.
Yeah. That shit can be fucking rough.
But for Botch, it was totally worth it. It's definitely a bucket list thing for me where it was just, I can't believe I got to see it.
And it's neat that like looks like they're actually like doing some touring, mostly East and West Coast right now, but hopefully.
Yeah. Which is hilarious because they were literally like, we're not doing anything. Like, fuck off. And then they put out that single.
Yep.
And like, we're not recording anything. We're not doing any of that. And then it's like 3 days later, like, oh, we're going on tour.
Yeah.
You fucking asshole.
It's kind of been the going thing with a lot of those bands from that era and stuff, because like now you're getting the original Dillinger Escape Plan, like vocalists and stuff. They're doing a show with that. Dead guys doing some stuff here and there, and it's just really strange.
So wild. Thank you.
But yeah, on today's episode, we're talking about sci-fi horror and its history, its influence, and we're just going to kind of wax poetic, as it were, about that kind of shit. But real quick, I'm just going to kind of give you, if you're not super familiar with what makes something sci-fi horror opposed from horror. I mean, horror is like the big umbrella. Then you're like little subgenres and stuff. You know, you've got like your slashers and shit like that. Sci-fi horror tends to be something that is science fiction based horror. And that it really kind of stems off and starts when Mary Shelley puts out Frankenstein in 1818. So that's like the mad scientist and all that stuff, you know, piecing together the bodies, all this stuff, talking about like what makes somebody human and stuff like that. From there, you get like H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, and like that's like in the late 1800s. I think the first time it's completely fully published that was as one volume is like in 1896. You also then have H.P. Lovecraft starting to put out all the weird tales and stuff, like in all of these pulp magazines and stuff. And that's where, once you start hitting these weird pulp magazines and stuff, that's where you start seeing this shit start to get churned out, because the next big thing is the movies. So you get your black and white films and stuff. You get The Lost World in 1925. You get King Kong in 1933, Godzilla 1954, and then it's just the drive-ins. And that's like your next thing with your pulp magazines. Now you've got the drive-ins. You don't have to be in a lot of places. You can just pump something out real quick, put it up there. Like you were talking off mic, like Roger Corman putting out a movie a week almost. And shit like that. But yeah, like I'm not super familiar with a lot of the 50s and 60s like schlocky horror stuff outside of like watching almost every fucking episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Exactly where my brain went.
Yeah, that was my introduction to a lot of that kind of shit. It's always just like weird people in weird suits going like, we must stop the creature from wherever, and then they just fucking deal with it, I guess.
And what's wild about that stuff too is a lot of it was that where it's like, oh, there's this alien monster thing, we gotta stop it. Some of them look pretty rad, some of them look really fucking terrible, but it didn't take away from it ever, really, I don't think. Because we consider it schlocky and goofy, because we've been handed over the years like the great like Stan Winston stuff and fucking incredible suits and rubber masks and shit over the years. But I was going somewhere with that. Basically, like, somehow that all flipped into like post-apocalyptic shit. Like you watch like all that early stuff and it's just more or less fear of the unknown, and then basically like changing of the times, people started to worry about resources and shit a little bit more. It's like, what if all that shit was gone? And then you get fucking Road Warrior and shit like that.
Oh yeah, which I mean, like in a sense, like
Warriors of the Wasteland.
That's one of those things that like I always kind of push back on and stuff, is like where people are like on a previous episode we talked about Seven a little bit and stuff, and like some people are like, that's not a horror film, and it's like, that's straight up a fucking horror film, and it's because it's from a policeman's perspective or something, it's not horror. And it's like in a proper viewpoint, you know, for the right people and stuff, the Road Warrior and stuff like that could be viewed as a horror film, like to actually put yourself in that position and stuff.
Absolutely. You look at the basis of that, the story is like his family gets murdered. That's terrifying in and of itself. And then it's, what do you do with that? Do you cut your losses and fucking skip town, or do you fucking fight back and try to stop them from hurting anybody else? It's a scary thought.
Oh yeah.
To put yourself in that position, especially with how weird and violent those guys are. Like that is terrifying.
Yeah, it's literally just like pure violence. Like, and there's no diplomacy. It's just might.
I can tell you straight up, I don't want to be in that situation.
No fucking way.
That's scary. It's a fucking horror movie.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like you get all that stuff. But it seems like late 60s, early 70s is kind of when like the genre of sci-fi horror starts getting to like this, I don't want to say fever pitch, because that doesn't happen, I don't think, until the 80s. But like the 70s is when you do start getting, you know, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Brood, The Brood's by Cronenberg and stuff. Like you start getting like these really kind of fucking weird stuff that kind of stemming off of the early 70s horror films. So you're like, or late 60s, early 70s, like Rosemary's Baby and stuff like that. That's the occult stuff. So then the occult stuff definitely starts getting the notoriety, and then people are wanting to do a little something different. And the thing that I've always loved about sci-fi horror is kind of like you said, the fear of the unexplainable. Like it doesn't have to go into all the gritty details of like why this is happening. It's just like, it's fucking happening. This is fucked up. You know, the Blob, whatever it is. It's just this fucking creature that's just wreck and shop and everything, and how do we survive against this like force or creature or whatever.
And even in that vein, a lot of that stuff went from straight up outer space to fucking ocean.
Mm-hmm.
You got like Deep Star 6, Leviathan, even like the Abyss and shit like that. Like,
Oh yeah.
the fact that we know more about space than we do the ocean,
Yeah, that's fucking weird.
that never stops terrifying me. That single thought of what the fuck is down there.
Oh yeah.
I don't go there. Like I go in the ocean. I've stood in the ocean probably up to like my neck and was like, no, I'm done.
That's good.
Yeah.
Fucking
I made it into the water. Now I'm getting the fuck out. And it's like beautiful, crystal clear water on the beach that we go to when we visit our parents in Florida. We always go to the same beach, always the same part. And you can see, and then like you look out and it just goes on forever. And there might be this tiny little boat on the horizon, and then like a dolphin will jump. And then you're just like, that's beautiful. Get me the fuck out of here. Like, I'm over it.
Because how quickly something beautiful can go to something horrific.
Oh my God, dude. It's so wild. The level of fear I have with open water.
Oh, so not that it's sci-fi and stuff, but I mean, no, it's creature feature, and it's just something that is like, did Jaws fuck with you a lot as a kid then?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Jaws and Alligator.
Oh yeah.
Alligator really fucking ruined my brain as a kid because we had a pool at the time. And I don't know, it was one of those things where it was mostly taken care of, but there was always like shit in the deep end that just made it dark.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't go there.
Well, that's the thing. Like, talking about space, talking about deep water, it's that the innate fear that humans have of the dark. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
You can't see it. It's a primal like lizard brain. Like, I don't want to fucking go down there. Like, I just don't want to chance it.
Its ability to make, like, darkness, the ability to make something, in the light that it's shallow, but the second you turn the lights off, it could go on forever.
Yeah.
Like, it's Schrodinger's fucking cat.
Oh yeah.
Who's to say that once you turn that off, it literally doesn't just keep going? Yeah, you can reach in and you can touch the back wall. But are you doing that? Like, are you making that wall there because you know that it's supposed to be there?
Well, it's one of those things that like we I think our sight is the one sense that we, for mostly like we don't take for granted, because we're like, if I can see it, seeing is believing, right? But every other sense that we have, we just don't trust. It's just like,
dude, that just made me think of something very terrifying. The idea of having seen all the stuff that I've seen and then going blind and being trapped in that. You know what I mean? Like, what if the last thing you saw was like Alien or something like that, and then you just go blind? Well, fuck.
Well,
what was
better
that?
Better work on not going blind.
Yeah.
Need to set up an optometrist appointment. Like, real quick, hold up.
Fuck, I canceled one not too long ago. Should have done that.
Oh no. Oh boy. But yeah, so talking about like Alien, that's the one that, for lack of a better term, changed the fucking game when it comes to sci-fi horror. Like,
oh God.
1979, Ridley Scott, Alien. I remember that movie just completely ruining me as a child.
Oh man. I've talked about this movie on several different podcasts. It's absolute favorite of mine. I literally watched it today. I couldn't get it out of my head. Like, I have to sit and watch this. I love it so much. I'm actually reading it right now as well.
The novelization or like the screenplay?
Yeah, the novelization. There's some slight differences in there, which I like. There's actually a part where Dallas is in the air shaft and they're all trying to like capture it in the airlock to shoot it out, which happens in the movie. There's more to it where Parker's in the hallway and he sees it, and it's like walking into the open door. So like the door opens up and then there's like a green light flashing, and the alien's like attracted to it, like it's looking at it, it's walking in, and then an alarm goes off and it steps back and the door's shut, but it can't like traps its arm inside of it, and it just rips its fucking arm off.
Oh damn.
And it's stuck there and it's kind of melting the shit, so it's like making the door faulty and all this shit, and it runs off, and then it just regrows a new arm. So they find out that it can regenerate and all this shit. So there's a little bit more to it in the book.
I was gonna say that's something they never really touched on in the movie.
No, they don't. But having read it now and like rewatching it today, it's very close to like everything that's in the movie, almost to a T, which is pretty rad. Because like even reading it, I'm like, does that happen? Like I've seen the movie probably 1,000 times. I'm like, does that happen? And then watching it today, I was like, oh yeah, that does. Holy shit! So does that. So does that. It's just those little like the face hugger.
Mm-hmm.
They actually in the book talk about it has an eye on the back of it.
Oh fucking! That makes it so much grosser.
Right? Yeah. Like especially because you have to picture that. They didn't do it, so now you got to think about what that looks like. I actually think so. There are some drawings that have it, but for whatever reason they took it out. I think they couldn't make it work or something like that. Or
well, I know a lot of the stuff.
They're just like no,
because Giger did a lot of the set design, artwork, like all that kind of stuff. And I know that they had to scale back some of it and everything because of how overtly sexual his art is and everything. So I'm wondering how the eye looked. If it was just like, I mean, if you know Giger's art and stuff, was it like a fucking vagina on the top of it with an eyeball in it or something? And they were just like, you know what, maybe not.
I mean, you think about it, it's already a hand or like two hands with a vagina mouth that a dick comes out of.
Exactly.
Inside you. So yeah, I mean, it's already there.
Oh yeah, the xenomorph's head is a phallic, like it is supposed to look like it's a giant cock with another cock that comes out of its mouth. Just
it's funny because it is. At the end of it, Lynn was watching it with me, and at the end of it, Ripley's in like that tiny fucking shirt and those tiny underwear, and it cuts to that side angle of its head, and the little mouth comes out. And it's like, ooh, he's getting a boner.
Yeah. Oh no,
like, that's exactly
boner.
what that is.
Yeah. Because like that's the thing is like I think like Giger had said and stuff that like human sexuality is like one of the scariest things like with people and stuff. Like it's just this like terrifying notion. So using those things in his art, like mixed with like the copious amounts of like psychedelics and shit that he did and everything.
You ever watch that documentary?
Yes.
It's so good.
Oh yeah, fuck so yeah. Good. It's like 3 hours long though.
Yeah, it's also very sad.
Yes.
Like,
because they made that like not too long before he passed.
Yeah, but you just like watch him tool around that house, and it's just like so tight, and there's just shit laying, like unfinished pieces of art, totally finished pieces of art that are just stacked against the wall that nobody's ever really seen before.
You're
like,
never gonna see it.
Come on, man.
I mean, like
hang that shit up.
I actually got the pleasure of getting to see one of his pieces of art in real life.
Oh my God.
The Buckland Museum in Cleveland. It's like a occult and witchcraft museum up there in Cleveland. They actually have it's not very big. It's like the size of maybe like a baseball glove or whatever. But it's this weird angelic form. But it is purely like you can just look at it and be like, I think I've seen this shit in fucking like God knows whatever book. And I caught my eye to it and everything. And it's a small museum. And the guy is like, oh, what are you looking at? And I was like, is that? And he's like, Giger, yeah, that actually was the owner of this shop. He knew him, all this stuff.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, because the Buckland Museum tangent, the Buckland Museum is a museum for the guy that brought like occult Satanism to the United States from England. And it's his private collection that he had over the years and stuff like that.
Good
and
Lord.
yeah, just in Cleveland. It's really fucking rad if you get a chance to check it out. Like, if you're in Cleveland, spend like an hour there. It's dope as fuck.
I'd go just for that.
Yeah, we took a very weird, but we took like a small family vacation to Cleveland. Watch out now. And but that was one of the spots that we ended up going. It was pretty cool.
Some white people shit.
Oh fuck yeah. But yeah, Alien, I mean, what they did, like, granted, I'm not looking at inflation or anything, but like that movie was made for $11 million back in '79, and the amount of shit that they did for miniatures, or like, it's all practical. Like, this is like the very little amount of CG that is in this is basically like old school, like when the ship is kind of coming into atmosphere from a distance, like at the very beginning. Like, that's about it. The rest of it is all in camera. It's insane.
Yeah. So the explosion when she blows up the Nostromo and escapes, that might be the only part that ever takes me out.
Oh, really?
Because it's just so cartoony looking.
Yeah. It's that whole like it's like film over film kind of thing where you can tell there's a disconnect.
Yeah, it's just colors and shapes.
Mm-hmm.
And not a very good explosion sound. Granted, I mean, you're in space and you probably wouldn't hear it anyway, but those are stupid little nitpicky things I could care less about. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't seem very grandiose in the scheme of the entire movie. Like, that's the whole thing. You like blow the ship up. It just kind of lackluster and weird with the cartoony explosion. But it'll never stop me from watching that fucking movie.
Oh fuck no. I mean, if I'm just going to not watch films because of like hokey parts here and there, I watched fucking Pacific Rim more times than I can even explain, and it was specifically because my inner child was just like, big monster fight robot. Yes.
Yeah. Give me all of that. I was so excited to watch that in the theater.
Oh yeah, that's dope as fuck. I haven't watched the sequel though, just because I'm holding on to like my love of the first one.
It's not great and it's not bad. It exists.
It is what it is.
Yeah. It's just more of the same.
Yeah.
But they just try to throw a little more.
A little pizzazz.
Yeah. There's a plot there. I like what they're trying to do with the monster parts and shit. But also monster fight robot. I gotta give it that.
Oh fuck yeah. But what was it? Yeah, the Alien though is not like the only horrifying thing about Alien, because like Alien is like the xenomorph in Alien is like the obvious terror of the film, but then you've got like the corporation with their fucking android like hidden, that's literally just like cool with everyone getting fucking murdered because they want to get this back.
And I'll say it actually works better in the book.
Oh, really?
Because you get a handful more of interactions. And then there's just like little asides where, like, when Dallas, Kane, and Lambert are out exploring and it's Ripley and Ash are on deck. Ash is doing like all his computer screen and they talk about how like she can't see what he's looking at. And there's just this little aside of like, if she could see what he's looking at, she would be horrified.
Okay.
And it's like, ooh, that's kind of cool. So it's like you watch that directive come in that you don't get when it came in there. There's a podcast I listen to called With Gorley and Rust. And it's Matt Gorley. He works with like Conan O'Brien and shit.
Okay.
And then the other dude is Paul Rust, who is an actor. He's a very funny dude. He's got a very small part in Inglourious Bastards. He had a show on Netflix called Love, and it's a very, very funny show. But they call it an easy listening podcast or a cozy cast, but it's all about horror and shit.
Oh, right on.
So they did like the whole Friday the 13th series. They did the whole Nightmare on Elm Street, all of Halloween. And then they started doing like one-offs and shit. And then they did the Alien series. and they really gush over this stuff, like what they love about it. They usually rank them and stuff like that. So when they were talking about Alien, they were talking about Ash's character and like the weird shit that he does, and like why would he do that? And there's that part where everybody's getting, geared up to take their station so those three can go out and explore. And Ash does this thing where he turns around towards his computer and he does like this short jog. And then he sits down. It's very strange. It makes zero sense. And they have like their theories on it. I'm not 100% sure where they land. But having just seen it and thinking about it, what that means to me, him being an android or whatever, it really feels like when he turns, he's like, fuck, I gotta be a person right now.
Oh, yeah. And
he does like a very human thing of just like, well, I should get my blood moving.
Yep.
Like, it's very wild. So, like, the first time watching it and not getting that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, fuck, he's a robot. Jesus Christ. Like, I remember being so fucked up by the white shit coming out of it.
Yeah, that's like
That broke my
so much gross. Like, that's so grosser than like about any other violence that you really get in the movie, except for maybe the chest burster. But like, even then, I think like the milky, yogurty kind of stuff is like, it's like repulsive. Like,
and after like Parker knocks his head off, it does that cut where it goes to like the open hole.
Yeah.
And she's like starting him back up and she's like prodding it. There's like those clear balls that are on a strand.
Yep.
Looks kind of like anal beads.
It was.
Probably. Stan Winston's personal collection or something. I don't know. Jody, bring me my beads.
I've got a project.
But there's like meat stuff in there too.
Mm-hmm.
Like inside of that. It's so gross looking and just fucking
and
almost unnecessary. Like it's just so weird. Like, why is that in?
Well, it's one of those things where like certain things, especially in this era and stuff, if things were too violent and all this stuff, if too much blood and everything, it would get an X rating. Like, and they couldn't do it. So they're like, well, we're going to make it white and we're going to make it as fucking gross as possible. And they'll be like, oh, it's not blood and it's just a robot. We can just do what the fuck ever. Because if that were to be brought out in like 79 and stuff, and that was all blood, and that whole scene plays out and it's red blood, I don't think it would have gotten into the theaters the way that it did.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because there, like I said, there's that hard cut where it's just an open wound. And regardless of all like the wiring, weird sci-fi shit that's in there, there's meat.
Yep.
And just thinking of it now too, they never once refer to him as a cyborg.
Mm-mm.
He's an android.
Yeah,
or
he's
a robot.
an android. Yep.
Like, that's what they say.
I don't think you really get any of that like verbiage and stuff until like the sequel and stuff like that, like with Bishop and everything,
Yeah.
But yeah, like in summation a little bit about Alien and stuff is we were talking prior to recording and everything, like the lineage of the trilogy of Alien, its pedigree of directors is absolutely insane. So you've got Ridley Scott, who goes on to do Gladiator. The sequel, which is, it's horror adjacent. It's more of an action film, but it's still like, there are still like drenched in horror. Like I remember that just being scary as fuck when I was a kid. And that one's directed by James Cameron, goes on to fucking make Titanic and fucking Avatar and shit like that. And then David Fincher, one of my favorite directors, makes the third one. And a lot of people shit on the third one, but I think it gets shit on in comparison to the first two.
Well, you look into what happened during the filming of all that stuff and how fucked up it got and how fucked over he got.
Yeah, he almost stopped making movies. Like, that was his first movie.
Yeah.
And he about stopped making movies because of the interference from, like, the higher-ups.
That's sad. Like, it's really sad to know that what we got in the end could have been whatever. Like, to never see that is upsetting. Like, all that shit's gone. Like, they can't make that.
No.
To see like what he
ended up doing in his career, like even up to like, I just watched The Killer that just came out on Netflix that he directed and everything.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
Dude, it's written by the same guy that wrote Seven. It's directed by David Fincher. And then for me, it's like a big deal because then you also have Trent Reznor did the soundtrack. I'm like,
Nice.
this is everything Nick wants. And Michael Fassbender's in it, and it's fucking great.
There you
But
go.
like just seeing everything that he did from like Seven to fucking Fight Club, even his like not horror stuff. I think he did The Curious Case of Benjamin Button and shit like that. It's like to think of like if granted he probably never would, but if they like came crawling back and was like, Mr. Fincher, can you make us a new Alien film? Like what he could fucking do, because like that dude has a way of taking something and making it just grimy as fuck. And that's the thing
yeah.
I do remember about the third one is how like oppressively dark like that prison planet
Oh, everything's
is.
wet.
Yep.
There's bugs everywhere. Like that's the whole thing. Like they have to shave their heads so they don't get fucking lice.
Yeah.
Like it's gross. The shit with like the xenomorph itself was supposed to be an ox.
Okay.
Like, it was supposed to come out of an ox.
Okay.
It was supposed to be like a farm on the planet,
Okay.
and that's what it was supposed to come out of, and it would have been way bigger. I think that was just something where they were like, "That's way too much fucking money," or
Yeah.
how
Well,
the
'cause
fuck
that's-
do we make that work?
That's something I remember in the toys and stuff, them doing was like being like really like if we had a xenomorph come out of this animal, it would change the way it looked this way and that way. And you kind of start getting that a little bit in like the later on movies like Prometheus and stuff like that. You see like the emergence of the one like out of a dog, I think it is, or something.
That's
And-
3. 3's the dog.
Is it 3 that's the dog?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's that Rottweiler.
Oh, that's right.
Because the facehugger hits it, and then the guy that owns the dog is doing something, and the dog comes up, and he's like petting it, and its face is all ripped up from like the facehugger.
I'm gonna have to watch the third one again. I haven't watched it. I always watch the first two, then every once in a while I'll get a burr in my ass, watch the third one, and then I'll watch Prometheus, and I've seen Alien Covenant a couple times, but I just completely forget about fucking the fourth one completely.
Yeah. I watched 3 in the theater. I watched 4 in the theater. I saw Prometheus and Covenant. I watched Covenant in the theater with like 3 other dudes
Oh yeah. I saw
at like
that one at the
11
drive-in.
a.m. It was like 11 in the morning. I got off work and went and fucking watched the movie. And then I was mad that I did.
Yeah,
I'm not a big Covenant fan.
it's visually it's a pretty film, but like that's kind of the thing with like the newer ones in general. Prometheus is the same way. Like it's interesting enough, but like it's just pretty. Like that's about it for me.
Yeah.
But there is a whole grouping of films though that kind of ties into something that you wanted to talk about, because the Alien being the best prey in all of that there land. I remember being in grade school and stuff, and everyone like reading comic books and stuff of Alien versus Predator.
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that. And then
I got the omnibus upstairs.
Yep. And then they ended up making films of that. And I remember, like, not going to go deep into Alien versus Predator at all, but I mean, I remember the Predator films when I was a kid. And weirdly, though, the first one, I don't remember as much as Danny Glover's second one.
That's funny.
I remember renting that one like a couple times, but the first one I always just saw on TV and it was cut up all to shit. I didn't see it like as a real movie until like I was probably in high school.
Nice. Yeah. One last thing about Alien.
Yeah.
That I wanted to say. It's kind of my favorite thing about the whole thing is that movie just gets smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
The farther you get into it. Like you said, when like the ship comes into view at the beginning, it gives you this grandiose thing. You're in fucking outer space, which is gigantic, but you can't fucking go anywhere. There's no like, oh, we could just go outside. That ain't fucking happening.
Yep.
So you're trapped inside this giant ship, and they do a really good job of making it look fucking endless. Like it's huge.
So if you want to be a part of our club, you can find us at facebook.com/podofthedead or else on Instagram at pod_of_the_dead, or on TikTok at Pod of the Dead. If you want to email us any questions, any complaints, or movie recommendations, you can email us at podofthedead666@gmail.com.
And then they get into a smaller craft. They go down. They bring the alien back on board with them, and then they're back in the big ship. But just that alone makes it seem smaller because they really don't reference outside anymore. So now you're back in the ship with this fucking thing. And then once it comes out of Kane, then you have like, okay, definitely can't go outside. We're trapped in here with this thing. It could be anywhere. And then it like really becomes more and more claustrophobic to where like Dallas is in the fucking air shaft.
Yeah.
Tooling around, and that makes my chest hurt fucking talking about it. And you know, by the end of it, you're in the escape pod and it's right fucking there.
Yeah, you're literally just standing in like a 10 by 10 room. That's it feels like.
It feels like it just keeps chomping at your surroundings until you're just stuck in a room with it.
Yeah, and there's no hiding from it now.
Yeah.
It's to the point where like it's kind of curled up to hide, but it is just in plain sight right there.
Yeah.
And it just slowly crawls out. And that's literally, I think that is probably the creepiest moment in the movie. Like not the scariest, but just the creepiest. Like when you see it just like kind of writhing out of it and everything.
Because she does that shit where she's like directly in front of it. Like it's right in front of her fucking face, but she's looking down, tapping on the fucking computer shit, and then its hand fucking like kicks out.
Yep.
And like, God damn it. And then its fucking head rolls out. But even with that, she goes into the closet where the suits are.
Yep.
So she's even in a smaller portion of her room. It's just, I love how tiny that movie gets by the end of it. And
it legitimately is like, here's this fucking like multiplex size spaceship, and it just keeps getting cut down and cut down and cut down until you.
And literally, the only thing that saves her is kicking it out into nothing.
Yeah,
like you have to open that up. Like it's fucking so brilliant. I love that shit. Makes me happy. That's Predator.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
That thing. Predator was huge in my house when we were kids. We fucking rented that movie almost every weekend. I'm not sure which one of us ended up buying it eventually on VHS, but I think I've seen Predator about as many times as I've watched Alien, because they kind of go hand in hand for me, where it's like, well, if I watch that, now I gotta watch the other one.
Yeah. So
I'll probably watch it later today. Better way to start a new year.
Oh yeah.
So I was thinking about that too while I was watching Alien. It's like, this is day one of the year and I'm watching Alien for the first time. I'll probably watch it once a month.
Oh hell yeah.
It's just a thing that I do.
That's one of those episodes I really can't wait to do, because like the format of this podcast is like, I'm steeped in horror like my entire life and everything, and then it's my wife and my sister, and like they dip their toes in it. They like little bits here and there, but it's like, oh, okay, here's something that, you know, maybe you'll like, maybe you won't like. So what's really wild is like this year, like none of them had ever seen The Evil Dead 2. So I was like, this is fucking wild. Here we go. And
that's really cool to have that opportunity like that.
Yeah. So like, that's the whole point, is like, you know, I can just talk my head off about shit that I've seen and grown up watching and everything, but I get to actually also get to see someone, whether they like it or not, because I've had, you know, Evil Dead 2, they fucking loved. Reanimator, they fucking hated.
How do you fucking hate Reanimator?
I know, right?
Well, that's in our faces. What a great sci-fi horror movie.
Oh yeah, that Lovecraft, all that fucking his name's escaping me right off the top of my head. The dude that directed that.
Stuart Gordon.
Yeah, Stuart Gordon. That and like From Beyond, like and coming. It's out. I think you can stream it like pay-per-view or whatever. But there's a new one called Suitable Flesh that is supposed to be like a Gordon film. It's another Lovecraft story and everything. And like they did it it's supposed to be like based off of a script or something that he was working on and everything.
Oh shit!
And that's actually going to be on Blu-ray this month. I think I've got it pre-ordered. I'm like super
Awesome.
stoked to check it out.
I don't think anybody handled Lovecraft stuff like Gordon.
Not even close.
That dude
Like
fucking just had a way to make the shit that Lovecraft would talk about that you're like, how the fuck do I even picture that in my brain?
Yeah. Like
Like
I mean,
otherworldly shit, so vague sometimes on what it looked like. And
like
Gordon
Reanimator's not so crazy because it's basically
Right.
kind of like a zombie, like Frankensteinish kind of thing. But once
Yeah.
you get to like From Beyond, that shit is pure like insanity.
Yeah.
And for him to just be like, yeah, no, there's gonna be like these weird like multi-dimensional eel things, just all this fucking crazy shit. But yeah, like well, another person that I think got it really right, kind of jumping forward, we'll come right back to Predator, but like talking about Lovecraft, Richard Stanley when he did Color Out of Space.
Oh yeah.
With Nicolas Cage. That is
Yeah.
that might be the perfect Lovecraft movie in my book, just because it's like it's not funny at all, which like From Beyond and Reanimator still has like this like tongue-in-cheekness to it here and there, but like Nicolas Cage in that movie didn't make sense when I first I was like, Lovecraft, Cage, I'm not 100% sure, and I love Nicolas Cage, but that fucking movie is great, and it's so fucking weird. You never actually see what the thing is because it's just a color fucking messing everything up, from the foliage to llamas to everything.
It is. It's fucking terrifying to look at it like that, where it's, again, that fear of the unknown, and how much more unknown can you get than a fucking color? Like, it's so fucking wild.
Well, and like the thing about Predator with the thing about
I was looking up we were talking about Richard Stanley.
Yeah.
Elijah Wood and his buddy Daniel Noah, what is their production company called?
I know what you're talking about because it's the one that did Maniac remake.
Yeah, and they did. I think they produced Mandy too.
Oh yes, they did. Yes, they did.
They had a podcast called Visitations.
Yeah, I've listened to a bit of that from. I think it's through Shudder.
Yeah. So the Richard Stanley one really puts you in that dude's headspace.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fucking get it.
No, that dude's fucking out there.
Like witchcraft shit, weird science stuff. He tells a story about this thing called a bloodstone. It's like meteorite shit from space or whatever, but you can like rub the stones together and it bleeds out this red viscous shit. And he did some like research and shit, and his mom had cancer in like her fucking eyes.
Okay.
She was losing her sight. She was a painter, and it really bummed him out. So he did all this research, and he found out that he used this shit, and he was like drop it into her eyes, and it's making her better.
Okay.
But it's so fucking terrifying because it gets to this point where he's like, it was like Pet Sematary, where she would like get violent and upset at like nothing, and like refused to fucking paint even though she could again, and like it's fucking scary, dude. It's super scary.
That's fucked up.
But I highly recommend that episode just to hear that stuff, because it's wild. It's like, oh yeah, that could only happen to Richard Stanley. It's so fucking weird.
Well, like, because prior to Color Out of Space, like I knew about him and everything, but it's like the only thing that I really knew about him was the last movie he made prior to that, I believe, was The Island of Dr. Moreau.
And he didn't even make it. He made like a portion of that.
Yeah, like he just kind of like fucked off and did his own thing after that, and it was just like nobody really heard much about him for a while.
He was supposed to leave that island, and he stayed. And then he went to like the costume department, and they put him in makeup. So he's walking around in that fucking movie.
Oh, weird.
He never left. There's a whole documentary about it.
Oh, cool.
I think Severin put it out.
Okay.
I can't remember what the fuck it's called, but it's wild.
Yeah.
It's so fucking wild. Because they talk to him, they talk to everybody else, just kind of how shit happened during like the filming of that, and how he got fucked up, and then how he fucking just was like, yeah, I'm not leaving. He went and fucked off in the jungle.
Yeah, that's fucking insane.
And then he made his way back over, goes to the costume department, and they're like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I don't know.
I missed my plane.
But like, they were friendly enough that the guy was like, okay, this would be funny. They just fucking did it. Like,
that's crazy.
Wild. Yeah, so Predator.
Yeah, like real quick before you get into Predator though, like you were talking about the fear of the unknown, right? So Predator, an alien from space, but it's not just an alien. It also puts the thing of like, we look at ourselves as the top of the food chain, the apex predator, and it's like, nah, son, sit down.
Yeah, Alien does that too.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Ash goes on that tangent about how it's like the perfect life form and all this shit. And Lambert's like, oh, you admire it. And it's like, it's, how does he say it? I admire its efficiency.
That might be it. I was going to say tenacity.
One of those T's. But yeah, the Predator for sure. You know, you go into the lore. I can't remember what they're called. Like the Junta or something like that.
Yeah, it's something around those.
I'm just nerdy enough to know close. It's so stupid.
And it's one of those things where it's like expertly cast too, considering you're wanting to be like, hey, it's this like apex predator, and it's like, let's get Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yeah.
let's get Arnold Schwarzenegger. Let's get what's his fucking name? From Happy Gilmore. He was in fucking Rocky and shit.
Oh, god damn it. Carl Weathers.
Yeah, Carl Weathers, jacked fucking Carl Weathers.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Like,
that motherfucker is so ripped in that fucking. When he's standing there and he's just fucking going off and it like shoots his arms off.
Yeah.
Like his fucking vest is open and he's fucking greasy as shit. Muscles everywhere in that movie.
Yeah.
And then the Predator itself is like fucking ripped.
Yeah, he's just fucking space jacked.
And it's actually the same dude that wore the alien costume.
Is it the same fucking guy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's dope.
His name is escaping me and it sucks. He was also Harry in Harry and the Hendersons. I believe.
No shit.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about that movie in a minute. With fucking what's his name from Third Rock from the Sun?
John Lithgow.
Yeah, John Lithgow. God, I haven't fucking thought of that movie in forever.
I think I watched it last year. I think.
I vaguely remember.
Kind of fresh in my mind.
I vaguely remember watching a VHS copy, not a legal VHS copy, a rip from fucking HBO VHS copy at my grandmother's house when I was a kid.
When we were growing up, we had these buddies that were like brothers. Like we hung out all the fucking time. And the oldest brother, Chad, he did that shit like it was his job, where he would just tape everything off of fucking HBO.
Yep.
And we would go over there and it was like going to a video store.
It's like the
and you'd pull a tape. Yeah, like you would, yeah, exactly. Like you would pull the fucking tape and it would have like 3 to 4 movies on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that was just as good as actually like being able to go up to like the mom and pop shop and rent fucking videos without an adult with you. Yep. And they were just like, sure, kid, you can watch this.
Yeah, your parents already have the thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, like
you want to watch Faces of Death?
Give me $1 and take your 4 movies home. Like, get the fuck out of my face.
Dude, that's like, and not to sound like an old fucking crotchety bastard and stuff, but like that is like one of the most formative things of my childhood is that, and like the same thing with like going to a record store, going for like the physical thing and just, what's this? I have no fucking clue. And then just finding out or just traumatizing myself with some movie, you know?
I mean, you listen to anything or anyone talk about that experience with VHS tapes and shit. And the one thing everybody always touches on is the fucking box art.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was such a cool thing to like walk through rows of movies and just be captured by an image and being like, I gotta fucking watch you.
Well, and it's also really interesting too, like when something, when a film's box art is so horrifying that you like won't watch the movie or whatever, like that just looks like it's too much. It looks like, and then you go and watch it, and it's the most tame thing in the world.
Oh yeah.
And the movie for that, for me when I was a kid, and it's not fucking scary at all, was Monkey Shines. I just remember seeing that cover so many times at like the family, like mom and pop, like rental store, and just being like, I want nothing to do with that fucking movie.
It's a scary cover, dude. It's something so innocent looking, just turned enough.
Yep.
To that evil grin and the fucking dead-eyed stare, that fucking wind-up monkey with symbols. Like,
yeah, I could pull Hellraiser off and be fine. I could pull there's something about that fucking monkey, man. But yeah, anyway, fucking
like, I know
Predator.
this is something we've talked about probably many times over the years, like band practice or something. But I was always terrified of horror shit when I was a kid. Like,
oh yeah,
I would sit through as much as I possibly could, but for the most part, I was like a pillow over the face, or like watching it through my hand. Like, I was scared of everything. Like, it's a running family joke that watching The Incredible Hulk with like Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
When he would turn into the Hulk, I would hide behind the couch because I was so fucking scared of that shit. And then years of that, and then it wasn't until I watched Return of the Living Dead,
okay,
where I saw the humor in it, and got jokes like that, and then it just like opened everything up, and it's like, fuck, I got to go rewatch everything now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I missed something, and I did. I missed all of that by just working it up in my brain. I was talking about it last night. My buddy asked me what my 3 favorite vampire movies were.
Okay.
And I was struggling for a third one, and he's like, is Lost Boys on your list? And I was like, fuck, how did I not think of that?
Yeah, that's so good.
I remember the first time I watched Lost Boys, my oldest cousin and my older brother had rented it, and they were making me watch it. They're
right on.
Like, you can't fucking not watch this. Don't be a pussy type of thing. Real machismo shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I laid underneath the coffee table and cried through the whole movie.
Because of Kiefer Sutherland's amazing mullet.
Yeah. and then I watched it again maybe a year or so after that. And I was like, why didn't I watch this? This is fucking incredible. It was still scary, but it was... fucking love that movie. It's so beautiful.
Lost Boys is definitely in my top 3 when it comes to vampire films. The 2 that instantly come to mind, and they're like almost like double featured, is Lost Boys and Fright Night. Mm-hmm. Those are my 2 fucking favorite ones.
Fright Night was on my list, and From Dusk Till Dawn is the third.
Yeah, From Dusk Till Dawn's good. I would probably, just because of me being me, I think I would, if I had to do it, I'd probably put 30 Days of Night. There's just something about like anytime that you just put, like, it's the reason like I love The Thing and shit. Like, I got the Japanese poster behind me.
Oh yeah.
Fucking that just cut off from civilization and just dealing with the Thing. So like, I mean, you mentioned The Abyss earlier, which is literally just The Thing but underwater. Mm-hmm. Like, it's that same, and I think that's James Cameron too. I think that's
it is.
But yeah, fucking
quite the resume, that guy.
Yeah, motherfucker. Like, all that stuff. It's so fucking weird. He did Terminator 2. It's just stupid.
What I like about 30 Days a Night is that part where like all the vampires are just out and about, and Barlow's actually out like walking with them.
Yeah.
And he grabs that lady and she says something about God, and he's like, no God. That is fucking, it's so mean.
Yep.
But it also is like, he would know.
Yeah. Well, it's like, that's the thing about that movie that I really liked, was just how mean it was. Like, not in the sense of like, like how some horror films can just be like mean against the audience. Like, we're just going to like, like a lot of your like torture porn kind of stuff and everything, where it's just like, we're just going to push it. It's not that. It's just like using the humans as bait to get more humans to try and save them. Yeah. Fucking like all that kind of stuff is just really fucked up. I'm not crazy about the way they made most of them look, but the atmosphere and everything of that movie really.
I mean, it's
really
close enough to the artwork on some parts for
Yes.
sure. But yeah, there is a
It's about
weird,
the
like,
eyes. I don't like the eyes. The teeth I'm fine with. It's like the weirdness of the eyes. And I know that's how it looks in the comics, but
yeah, they got that weird brow.
yeah. But yeah, so got Alien. We've got Predator with all the muscles and the jungle and the literally being hunted.
Which it kind of does the same thing.
Yep.
And maybe that's where, 30 Days got some of that too, is using like others for bait and shit like that, where it'll like capture like a portion of voice or whatever and play it to like get your attention. Like, I love that shit. It's so fucking smart. And it's just neat to think that somebody sat down and came up with that cool ass idea. Like, what if something came here?
Oh yeah.
And
no different than hunting season around, like we live in Ohio, like no different, like tagged, hey, this is, I don't have that antelope, I don't have that whatever. It's like, I hear these people are kind of like a bastard to deal with and just come down and fucking like, well, if you're a real hunter, you got to bag Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. You find the baddest motherfucker. It's like going to jail and like picking out the toughest guy and punching him in the face, like knocking him out.
Yeah, and then cutting his head off and mounting it and flying back to space.
Got your trophy.
Well, and that, if I remember, it's, but like I said, it's been a bit. That movie ends with like basically the Predator kind of giving him a little nod, like, nah, you're good. Like you're as good as I am, son of a bitch.
There's that, but also like beep bop beep bop beep boop bop.
Yes.
You're also fucked. Like, if I'm gonna die, you're still gonna die.
Yeah.
Type of shit. I love that. That whole setup of him like setting the traps and shit, and then like, come on, I'm right here, kill me. Okay, but it's like looking at it.
Oh yeah.
And it's so fucking rad. It's like, you dumb piece of shit. Like, I'm literally hunting you and you're setting fucking traps. Like, get the fuck out of here.
And it's like he's trying to set, like, it gets to the point where he's just covering himself in mud, trying to hide from it and everything.
That's because so brilliant.
It's got thermal scanners. It's got fucking invisibility cloaking. It's got like these fucking guided lasers, like all this shit. It's
and nuts. When you really boil that movie down, it's more of an action movie than
it's more like Alien. It's more like Aliens than Alien.
Yes, I agree.
Because it's machine guns against the thing. Like we've got the firepower and we're going to try and deal with it in that sense. But it's still science fiction. It's still like it's horror adjacent. I would not be like it is a horror film, but like I wouldn't say it's just a pure action film either. It's like you got chocolate in my peanut butter.
I think why that might have resonated so much with like the muscles and shit was because of wrestling. Because of Jesse Ventura and like wrestling shit.
Yep.
And being like, oh, I know that guy from that other thing where the other muscle dudes are. I like this now. Like, yeah.
Men slapping meat, now it's alien slapping man meat.
Make you a sexual Tyrannosaurus.
But the 80s though, like also like the other two big ones for me when it comes to the 80s, and I'll just name drop them and then we can just talk about them both at the same time, is we've got motherfucking John Carpenter's The Thing.
Ooh, boy.
And we've got David Cronenberg's The Fly.
Jesus Christ. And
these films are 100% the epitome of sci-fi horror to me.
Absolutely.
Like Alien is like definitely, it's amazing and all this stuff, but like when you really break it down to like the nitty gritty, it's kind of like a haunted house film in space.
Oh yeah.
You know, like it still follows.
That's a really cool idea.
But then like The Thing, I mean, it's technically it's a remake of The Thing from Outer Space that came out in the 50s and stuff like that. But Carpenter's, and same with The Fly. The Fly is a reimagination and everything of a 50s film. But both of these guys just completely turned them on their head and made them like existential horror, like to the point where at the end of The Thing, you don't even know if it's a good ending or not. Like you don't know if it's a positive or a negative ending. And then like the end of The Fly is just horrific.
And it's wild to think that those movies weren't super popular at the time. Like they kind of were.
Yeah, The Thing was a flop. It was a huge financial like letdown.
And then like every time I watch it, I'm like, how the fuck did nobody care about this?
No idea.
Other than the fact that it is legitimately gross and scary.
Yeah.
And I think people just weren't ready for that
to this
at that
day.
time.
To this day, that movie is fucking gross and scary. And I've seen
Absolutely.
that movie. I've seen that movie 100 times. I've probably seen The Thing more times than I've seen about any other horror film. and every single time that like the chest cavity opens up and everything, that is like horrific. The head removing itself, the sound of the tentacles coming out of the dog. Every single time you deal with that, with The Thing, it's so wet. It's visceral. It's just horrific. And then you got Kurt Russell and Wilford Brimley just acting the fuck out of that movie.
Dude, just chewing scenery.
Mm-hmm.
I love that shit so much. Kurt Russell is like one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of it comes from that particular movie.
Yeah, like I mean, like him and Carpenter, like they did that. Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China, like all in like this little pocket, and like those are all just fucking like. I mean, Escape from New York it's like that Mad Max kind of feel, like where it's like that post-apocalyptic. It could be like I could see people looking at that as kind of a horror film as well, like with how it's laid out and shit. But yeah, The Thing is just insane.
The Thing does this similar thing that Alien did with you're in their base. Like they're confined to that. Everything outside of it is you can go outside, but you're probably going to freeze to death.
Yes.
Like you don't want to be out there very long, so you're confined. It has that same thing where it makes it small. You're trapped inside there. They travel to the other one and they see what happened and come back to their own base, and shit just keeps going wrong for everybody. Like it's not. I don't think there's ever a sense of hope in that movie.
No, that movie is
not for a second,
and it's pure paranoia from.
Oh, absolutely.
From the word go, like that's what I think does it for me, is because at no given time do you know if anyone's actually safe or not in that film.
Man is the warmest place to hide.
Yeah, fucking that is such a horrifying idea. Like
it's gross. It sounds gross.
Yeah.
Like I don't want that. I don't want anything inside.
Yeah. and the fucking special effects in that movie, like there's some weird hokey bits here and there and stuff. Like I'm not crazy about the like final eruption of it, and like it's in the tunnel section. It's cool, but at the same time, since it's stop motion and everything, it's a little jarring compared to like what we're seeing elsewhere in the film.
There's like that stop motion tentacle that comes out. But much like the explosion in Alien, it doesn't really take me out of it.
Oh yeah,
it just doesn't register, like you said, like the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it that's grasping at straws to like. So what could you say is not the greatest thing in it? It's like, well, I guess in the last fucking 10 minutes there's some shit.
Yeah.
But like every other time you see it, the fucking blood test scene in that is horrifying.
The tension in that fucking scene still gets me every fucking time.
Well, and how fucking angry they are at each other by that point. Like they are just literally ready to kill each other.
Tied to this fucking couch. Fuck, dude, that's so good. Like, I love that stuff.
And the fact that movie didn't make money, like it was.
Oh man, it's so sad.
I cannot imagine, because like John Carpenter's went on to say, like people are like, oh yeah, The Thing's my favorite and all this stuff. You know, like it's a shame. He's like,
where were you?
Yeah, well, fucking nice to hear that now, I guess. But so you've got this thing from outer space buried under the ice, and actually, I'm not going to go too much into the minutia of it, because that is actually going to be the next full episode of Pot of the Dead.
Wonderful.
Is Stephanie's seen it, but my sister has never seen The Thing.
Ooh, buddy.
So I can't fucking wait.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that. I would love to see somebody watch that for the first time.
Oh yeah, I got to watch Wesley watch it for the first time, and he fucking about fell off the couch when was it Windows has it fucking snapped down in his head, and he was like, what the hell?
when my son was 13, so about 7 years ago already. The motherfucker's gonna be 20 this year.
You're getting
That's
old,
insane.
man.
It's so insane. Yeah, I just turned 44, so.
Mhm.
Oh, happy birthday, man! Happy
Oh, thank
birthday
you.
again.
Yep. Another trip around the sun.
Yeah. All it equates to. I showed him Predator when he was 13, and me and his mom had been long divorced by that time, but she was still of a mind of like, don't show him this stuff. Like, it's not necessary. And it's like, he's fucking 13.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, he has more of a mind now where I can sit and explain the things that are happening than I could if he was like little, which I ended up doing with Vivian.
Yeah.
Like, she watches shit on her own now.
Yeah. That's
like, I'll walk in the room and she's watching like somebody get torn apart. And it's like, what are you watching? And she'll tell me, and I'm like, cool, man. You all right? Like, I always check in. You all right?
Yeah,
like,
you always got to do that little test. Like, everything cool? All right.
Yeah. She's like, it's kind of gross, but it's pretty good. Like, turn it off if you don't feel good or whatever. And she'll sit through it and then be like, hey, that was actually really good. Like, and then she'll go show it to her buddy. Like, she'll have her friend Caitlin come over and they'll fucking watch that shit together.
Yeah, the way I kind of tested the waters with Wes, Sid never really jumped on board with it. She'll watch, like, she likes Scream and stuff, but I just showed them Face Off, not the Nicolas Cage movie, but the sci-fi like makeup contest show, and like that instantly kind of like dropped the curtain a little bit, because like he's 10, and we went and saw Evil Dead Rise this year together. We went and saw Talk to Me together this year. And he just saw the trailer for that Night Swim, and he's like, Dad, we got to go see that. It's coming out next week. I'm like, all right, we'll go. Because I've told them both. Like,
that's the shit that rules. Is when that switch gets flipped and they're like,
yeah,
that's us. Because Vivian said, we went and saw Scream 6. We went and saw Evil Dead Rise. The other one, we watched that Turtles movie together, too. Which is another thing that the Mutant Mayhem or whatever.
Oh, the Teenage
animated
Turtles. Yeah.
Yeah, we went and watched that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Super dope. But with Phoenix, my son, it was a lot of that. Like, me watching him watch it.
Yeah.
And there were parts where he just would kind of be like, "Mah."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, man, we can turn this off if you don't want to watch it. And he's like, no, I'm good. So I would pause it and kind of walk him through how something like that's filmed.
Yeah.
And basically make it in its simplest form for him, where it's like, so they made a mold of this guy's head and then they fucking set it down and then they had it rigged to explode. Like, there's a science to this.
Yeah, you explained the artistry of it.
Yeah. And as soon as he heard like the science part of it, he was just like, all right, that's cool. But he never really stuck with it. My oldest daughter, she'll go watch movies with us, but it's usually like a Marvel movie or something like that. She doesn't care at all. But with Vivian, it's she came out this morning. Like, I had made this big breakfast and she finally came out. She puts her plate together. I cook her eggs and shit, and fucking she's like walking back to her room. I was like, you could do that, but I'm also watching Alien. And she goes, I'll watch Alien. So she came out and watched a little bit of Alien while she ate her breakfast.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, that's
starting the new year off on the right foot.
There you go. Yeah, I gotta watch The Thing this week anyway, so I might as well watch it today.
There you go.
Yeah, fucking Wesley, 9 times out of 10. I'm trying to remember which ones it was. I'd walk into the living room, and almost at any given moment, that fucker was watching either Cooties with Elijah Wood and all that shit. Like, that's like one of his favorite like horror movies.
That's amazing. I love that movie too.
And then what's the other one that he watches? Deadstream. That's from Shudder, the one that's the YouTube streamer, because he's really big into like Fortnite and all that, like his streamers. So it is straight up like, I watched it with him a couple times. And like he just fucking loves that because it's like really relatable for him. It's just about a streamer that goes to a haunted house and it turns out to be a real haunted house. And
it's so good.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how good it ended up being.
Yeah, and like the couple that made that, well, the guy's the director, but his wife like helps co-write and like is in his stuff as well. She's like the ghostly person in that movie.
Okay.
They did stuff for like the VHS series too, where like it's the one where it's like a was it funeral home and they end up going to hell and stuff, and like he's trying to like
shit, that's a funny one. That's
the same guy, and it's the same girl that's like the person from hell that's like trying to get him out and everything.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
I'm really excited to see whatever they do in the future, but
yeah, somebody needs to give them some money.
Yeah, fuck yeah. But all right, so that's the thing. Cronenberg's The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
What a sad movie.
It's super sad, super disgusting.
Ugh. So he does this thing in the movie. Jeff Goldblum does this thing in the movie where it's so perfect of a portrayal of a man trying to impress a woman.
Yes. Yeah.
Of like, I'm so smart. Check this shit out. And then like, well,
that woman is Gina Davis.
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful Gina Davis. She's so beautiful. I love her. But it basically boils down to that. He gets cocky with it and tries to impress her, and it just goes wrong. And it really drives home that point of like, didn't have to do that. She liked you already.
Yep.
And then you become this disgusting thing.
Yep.
And you watch her fall apart because she's watching him literally fall apart. It's, there's that whole thing that people try to put on it where it's like an allegory about AIDS and shit. And
yeah.
Like, it's just not. Like,
I don't see it.
It's just not. It's just a really sad love story.
Yeah, it's like
wrapped up in Cronenberg's fucking body horror.
Yeah.
Like, what would you do if you fell in love, but you were also falling apart and becoming something that they wouldn't want any part of?
Well, it's Jeff Goldblum, like you're saying, like his insecurity and self-doubt of being enough for Gina Davis. Mm-hmm. And then his hubris of, like, well, check this out. And then literally just a fly, something as literally forgettable as a fly in a room, gets into this transporter with him. And his genetics get spliced with it, and over time you get the Brundlefly, and Jeff Goldblum starts to mutate visibly and just visceral. It's just so fucking gross. It gets to the point where he erupts from his own form and stuff by the end of the film, and it's
sheds
so
his skin.
Horribly depressing by the end.
And it does that thing where he's terrified of what's happening. And then there's that scientist part of him that starts to embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts like writing everything down. And
yeah, this is interesting.
Like really trying to like hone in on it a little bit. And then he gets worried again and he wants to fix it. But then, he's got that, well, I'll just take her in there and then I'll be a person again. And it's fuck, dude. Like now you're gonna completely ruin the thing that loves you for selfishness.
Correct.
It's really a good lesson in that. The whole thing, he's selfish. I care about myself. Don't put this story out until I show you whatever. And then it's the selfishness of like, look at me. So awesome. I did that. Are you impressed? And then it's fuck.
And if I remember correctly too, isn't it like right after the initial like swap and everything? Isn't that where we start getting sexy Goldblum? Because like,
oh yeah,
that's where like the I don't know, like the mating of how a fly is and everything like starts to show.
So he gets like really muscular. He's getting stronger. He's shiny for some reason. Like it's always like glistening.
Because it was the 80s, man. Everyone was shiny.
Yeah.
Just cocaine and baby oil.
His fucking permed ass fucking weird mullet. I don't understand that one. Weird choice. 80s were a weird time,
It was a
man.
weird time. But with that though, we got some of the greatest fucking movies. Like,
Oh my god, so many good movies.
it's insane. From like everything that we've talked about today for the most part, and then like the rise of the fucking slashers, like all this fucking shit. Like, there will never be a time, and there will never be another time that there will be such a like paradigm shift in a genre of movies, specifically horror. And it was so much so that by like the 83 or something like that, the MPAA is just like, nope, you guys like can't be fucking doing this shit and everything. You get the video nasties over in England where they're just like blacklisting a bunch of shit.
Just wild.
Yeah.
Just wild. That people got so worked up about that shit. And it's always gone away.
It's always just pointing the finger at something so someone doesn't have to take responsibility for something else.
Right.
It's no different, like, not trying to, get on a fucking soapbox, but it's no different than like the Columbine stuff. Then it was all these metal bands are the reason that people are killing. It's like
Satanic Panic, all that horse shit.
All that shit. Because Satanic Panic would have been happening right in this time. Horror films, metal bands, D&D. This is all bad, and it's this is what's corrupting America and all this stuff. It's like, go fuck yourself with that. Like, it's a way for people to fucking let off steam. Scientific provings that people that like listen to metal music and watch horror films and stuff, it is a stress reliever, and these people are more likely to be more well balanced than those that don't.
Absolutely. I think it was a weird way of working itself out where people just didn't want to talk to their kids about how they were doing with anything, and they just thought it was easier to take that shit away. Like, well, I don't want to ask him how he feels about it because that seems weird. Like, my parents didn't do that with me. Is what they would say, probably. Like, my parents and I didn't have that relationship. I can't
be better.
My kid that way.
I can't be better than my parents. It's like, actually, you really can.
It's strange because weird side quest here is I've never been asked before, like, do I parent like my parents? But I heard it. I was watching Neil Brennan talk to Kenan Thompson, and he asked him, he's like, do you parent like your parents did, or do you have your own thing? And I was like, holy shit, I've never thought of it that way. Like, do I parent like my parents? Like, I'm not like super hands-on, but I do like the quality time and the check-ins and shit like that. I don't know, it's weird. Like,
well, like my like, not to, like you said, not to go down this huge side quest and everything, but like mine was, I took what I liked about being raised and I kind of bottled that up, and I was like, okay, I'm going to kind of use that. And then I looked at the things that I did not like about being raised, which was like a smorgasbord. And I went, I will never do that, ever. I remember how that made me feel. I remember all that stuff. And then I just, giving a shit about your kids, having conversations with your kids about things that you don't understand that they're into, and being like, why do you like that? Can you explain to me what it is about these things?
Yes.
Like my daughter Sydney is really into fucking like Vocaloid music, which is like this weird like J-pop kind of stuff and everything. And not to draw like a comparison to like horror films and stuff, but it's just like, I don't understand it. And instead of just being like, it's fucking stupid, whatever. So what is it about it that you do like? It takes that much fucking work. And if parents would do that, then you wouldn't have these fucking parental groups going like, Tipper Gore and shit, being like, oh, music's bad. It's just like, fuck you.
See, what was cool was like my parents did a thing, because it's so weird to like look back on the past and realize what age my parents were when I was a certain age. Like, sometimes that shit just blows my mind, where it's like, oh fuck, they were only in like their fucking late 20s, early 30s at this time.
Yeah.
But they were out doing shit. They were being 28, 30-year-old people going out to the bar and shit.
Yep.
So we were, we would be either at my aunt and uncle's house, and there was a gas station right across the street that we rented every fucking horror tape they had on the walls. probably multiple times. And then, or we would be at our house and we'd walk uptown to little mom and pop shop. It was called J&D's. We would go up there and we rented everything up there that we could fucking get our hands on. So in that sense, like, really developed an appreciation for movies. And then there was times where we would be like, hey, we rented this. Can we rent it again? And they'd be like, you watched that? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, where were we? Probably out. But like, I remember Dad like picking stuff out too that we had already watched and be like, oh, that's a good one. And he's like, cool, I want to see it. And then we would go sit and watch, you know, whatever together. Big Trouble in Little China or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it was really cool to have that. And we still talk about shit like that to this day. Or we would sit around and listen to music. I remember entire Sundays where we would just like sit in a family room and fucking just have the radio on and like sitting on the floor drawing and shit. Nobody saying a fucking word, but we were all existing in that space.
Yeah, just experiencing life together.
Listening to music and shit. It was beautiful. Like, I can trace my appreciation for all that stuff to those times. And it's really heartwarming, and I hope that that's kind of what I'm passing along. My oldest daughter and I, that's where we connect, is on music. Cool. Every time we're together, she's like, hey, check this out. And I'm like, hey, I got this for you. Nice. And we trade off like that. The fact that I've made her a Replacements fan makes my heart swell. I fucking love it so much. But I'm glad that we got to talk about sci-fi stuff, because I don't feel like a lot of people touch on it.
Yeah, it kind of gets overlooked, because like the obvious genres that everybody wants to talk about and stuff are like your slashers, or they want to talk about whatever the shocking thing is.
Yeah.
Whether you like them or not, I really don't care. But like, you know, they want to talk about Rob Zombie films, or you know, like these divisive things of like, you know, like I like it, I hate it, and whatever. But like the idea, like sci-fi horror, for me, it's not that I've seen more sci-fi horror than everything else that I like, but if you give me a sci-fi horror film, there's a higher probability that I'm going to love that movie than any other genre. Like everything,
it has this ability to be more fantastical, than a normal slasher movie and stuff, because you have all these other elements in it that are grabbing your attention. Whether it's a false wall that has fucking Christmas lights fucking duct tape to it, and it looks futuristic. There's so much, lack of better term, eye candy in those fucking movies that you can focus on. And I really think that in those time frames that really worked for people, because it was something they'd never seen before. You know, you have like these fantastical ideas of spaceships, or even like man's made fucking like spacecraft, and wanting to be that far in the future.
Yeah.
Like, it gave you some kind of hope of one day we're going to have shit like that. Like anything from like a communicator. Now we got fucking tiny computers in our fucking pockets.
Fuck yeah.
Like some of those things become reality. Like viewing screens where what we're doing right now is so far apart talking, and I can see your fucking face.
Yep.
It blows my fucking mind that a lot of those things came true, and now maybe aliens are real. Who knows?
They better fucking be. God damn it!
I know.
They make a lot of sense.
I want my alien. I always thought that shit was super funny when that first started coming out. Like, people talking like, "Where's my alien?" Or they would make memes of like me and my alien on the first day, and it's like already dried up and fucking dead.
Hey,
like,
alien, we're going to Bonnaroo.
I broke my alien too.
That's
mine would be fucking ET, and we're just drinking fucking Coors. I don't even like Coors, but I'd drink one with ET.
Oh fuck yeah! I don't know what my alien would be. I know it would probably get crippling depression from me.
Oh god, mine would be so fucking riddled with anxiety.
Yeah,
and probably moping, little fucking sad sack.
I would teach it to be happy in 5-minute increments over the course of a day.
This is called serotonin. You're not allowed to have any right now.
You stay away from my serotonin, you son bitch.
Oh god.
But yeah, then like kind of wrap it up a little bit, because this might, we can always talk about sci-fi films another time and stuff if we so much please to. But then like, the 90s and stuff is where, horror kind of takes a dip and stuff. It is kind of the rise of the slasher again because of Scream and stuff. But you still got some pretty cool fucking horror films that are sci-fi based that came out there. The number one that comes to my mind is Event Horizon.
Right on. I was thinking of like The Faculty.
Yeah. And that's actually written by the same guy that wrote the screenplay for Scream.
That's true. That is true. Because that's what works so well is some of those teenage conversations work. Some of it doesn't. Some of it's very poorly written. But for the most part, I really like The Faculty. I think that movie's fucking fun.
Yeah, because it's kind of like you take The Thing and you put it in a high school.
Yeah. Like, that's fucking wild.
I've heard talks that there's possibly a remake in the future, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think Rodriguez is the one that did it originally, and I think there's talks about him redoing it.
That would be amazing. I would watch that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would fucking watch that shit like today.
You put like Elijah Wood in there as Jon Stewart's character as the teacher. Like, I'm in. I'll fucking buy it. I buy it. There was another one I was thinking about. Like Richard Stanley popped back into my head. The movie Hardware.
Oh yeah. Is that from the 90s?
Yes.
Okay.
That might be late 80s. Because I remember watching that when I lived in the next town over.
It is 1990.
Oh my god! Wow.
It just makes it.
So I was fucking 10, and I remember renting that and watching it with my family.
Yeah, you're talking about this guy right here, right?
Absolutely, the Mark 13. Actually, hang on one second.
Yeah, you're good.
Come here, you motherfucker. Actually need to get back onto it, but
oh hell yeah,
I was
doing a painting
it. I'm pretty sure this is from like 7 years ago.
Okay.
And I just never fucking finished it. But that robot is burnt into my brain.
Oh really?
Like, I think about the Mark 13 way too much. And what's cool about it is it looks like an American flag.
Yeah, on its head.
And it's not.
Oh, okay.
So what they were doing was a night and day scheme on it.
Okay.
Because she's putting it in an art installation and it turns itself back on. Because that's what it was built to do. But one side is supposed to be kind of Starry Night.
Yeah, I see that.
And then the other side is the rising sun.
Oh, okay.
So what you're getting is the wraparound of the beams of light played with the stars, so it looks like an American flag.
That's fucking dope. That's the that it's not just like, oh, we're just gonna wrap it in an American flag. It happens to look like an American flag.
Yes.
But that's cool. That's fucking
so
dope.
You can build that assumption of like, oh, he's talking because he's Australian, right?
I think that's right.
Because he did Dust Devil, which he shot in Australia. I don't know if you've ever seen Dust Devil.
I see it came out in 92.
Yeah, check it out. It's fucking wild. It's a weird one. But you can put the assumption together that he's talking about like the American military complex or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just not, because it's not on it already. It's something that she puts onto it And it could be like her saying that in her art installation, but she's just not. It's to the opposing things of night and day. But they never talk about that. That's something that, like, you watch the commentary or like behind the scenes shit, and then you get handed all of that information. But that's another movie where it's so fucking tight. You're in that fucking apartment. Like 98% of that movie takes place in that fucking apartment. With
I remember seeing it when I was young, but I haven't seen that for fucking ever. So I might have to re-up my hardware card.
I love it. I love it. It was one of those things that I bought immediately on DVD when I could get my hands on it.
Oh, hell yeah.
And somebody, I think, re-released it. And I'm not sure who. One of the bigger
like
guys.
Like a special edition, kind of like a Severin and all that kind of stuff, or maybe like Scream Factory or something.
I think it was a Scream Factory release. It sucks because I don't get to go to Wasteland or Horror Hound that much anymore with my buddy James, who works for Vinegar Syndrome, because we would always hang out with the Severin guys.
Oh, cool.
Because it was always the same dudes we would see, and then we just became like close with them, and we would do like this movie trade. And
oh, hell yeah.
Like, I got, a decent amount of Severin stuff, but I have a shit ton of fucking Vincent and stuff, like so much stuff from them. I just got Curse of the Blue Lights, Killer Condom, and
I remember that one.
Preacher. Preacher is a fucking straight up Alien ripoff.
Oh, okay.
Like straight up. But it's got Klaus Kinski in it.
Okay. And
that dude is just a fucking creepazoid through and through. And he's almost like an Ash character in it. It's fucking wild, though. It's pretty good. It's not great. It's also kind of a horny movie.
Oh, right on.
It's very wild, but I like it a lot. I like
that's the thing with like really any genre of horror and stuff is like you gotta dig through some weird shit, some rip-off shit, to really find those gems and stuff. Like it's easy to fucking go and see Alien and all that stuff, but like
absolutely
like I mean this past season and stuff we did The Void, which I mean The Void to your mom and pop person, they're not gonna know it, but like to a horror head, like that's a very obvious movie.
Absolutely.
But absolutely, like you just keep digging, you just keep finding something else, something a little weirder.
I would highly suggest anybody listening to this, if you're not already familiar with Red Letter Media, to pay attention to those dudes. They do a show called Best of the Worst.
Okay.
They got multiple shows where they talk about like movies and stuff, but on Best of the Worst, they'll do a thing where it's either like a battle of genres or just a theme. Like sometimes they'll do like horror movies. Mm-hmm. They'll pick like 3 or 4 movies, sit and watch them. They're not great. Like they have this thing where it's like, it's not B level. Like it's not even like 9 times out of 10, it's entertaining because it's so fucking bad and wonky.
Almost like that shot on VHS kind of thing.
Yeah. So but it's things that we've heard of. It's like Warriors of the Wasteland or fucking, they watched The Suckling, which Vinegar Syndrome put out. Like that's on one of the episodes. And they actually have a Plinketto board.
Okay.
And they drop a ball and it picks The Suckling on that episode. It's so fucking funny. And then they're mad that they watched it. I fucking love that movie. It's so gross and dumb. But I love that movie.
That's how our episode about fucking, what was it? Buffy the Vampire Slayer was. We watched it. We all came back. We were all so fucking mad. We rewatched that movie. Because it's one of those things, it's like I remembered it as a kid and I was like, that's probably whatever. We're just kind of doing adjacent stuff. We were just like,
dude, Lynn and I literally just watched it the other day. Like, I'm not joking. We just fucking watched it like a day ago and 2 days ago. And we laughed through that whole movie.
Oh, really?
About how fucking weird and wonky it is.
It doesn't, like, there's so much that doesn't make sense. Like, especially Donald Sutherland.
Oh, Christ.
Because my favorite thing about, and go back and listen to our episode on Buffy the Vampire Slayer if you really want to hear the gush on this and stuff. But like the fact that he fought with the director and stuff and was just like, no, I'm going to act this way. And that's him. He acted this way. Like his death scene and stuff that's all Sutherland. I'm like, what the fuck?
It's like pulls the coat over his face. What?
Yeah. Paul Rubens though. Paul Rubens fucking
Jesus
amazing.
Christ, dude. I loved every fucking second he's on the screen.
Oh yeah.
He's one of my favorite dudes.
Yeah, I've got him right here above my computer staring. He's my supervisor. I can't remember the company, but it's like Terror Tunes or whatever.
Oh, right on.
It's fucking him with Petrie just fucking staring me down.
I just picked up the Crimson Ghost and Elvira ones.
Oh, okay, right on.
I went and bought those a couple weeks ago.
Hell yeah.
There was something you said earlier, just a few minutes ago, that I thought I had something about, but now I don't remember.
It's all good. I live in that pocket right there.
Well, I'm trying a thing now where I just let shit like that go, because I will sometimes force myself to remember things, and it's just if it was that important, I'd fucking remember.
Yep, and it'll come.
And I'm trying to live in that headspace now.
Yep, where it'll come back at the least opportune time.
Yeah, I'll fucking text you later and be like, "See, it wasn't important."
You were talking about toes.
Right. Yeah, dude, I would definitely love to do another one with you. This is super fun. I like what you're doing. It's very cool idea. I really appreciate you having me on.
Oh, absolutely. You were definitely one of the first people that I thought about. I had like a little pocket of people and I just kind of sent feelers out, and I was just like, here's the list of topics that I'd like to cover at some point. If anyone's interested in these, feel free, because like I said, these Gaiden episodes are just kind of free form talking, getting different people from different podcasts, different walks of life, fucking people from bands like Zach Ferris from fucking Dissected is going to be on an episode sometime and everything. So just kind of, seeing different perspectives, because that's the thing is like, I like talking about fucking horror films, and I know plenty of people that do, and why not?
Exactly.
But so in summation, I think we talked about quite a few different films, gave you guys quite a few different things to check out. Maybe you've seen all of them. Maybe you think our fucking takes on stuff is absolute bullshit. I don't care. You can you can fucking email me at potofthedead666@gmail.com with all of your complaints and whatever. I might read it. Who knows? But
the good news is you don't ever have to.
I don't ever have to. But if for anybody out there, if you've got any movie recommendations and stuff that you'd like for us to talk about on a core episode with the ladies, or if there's even like a broader topic like we did today for a Gaiden episode and stuff, also send those. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. We're on all the things. And but thank you, Courtney, for coming onto the show today. And
absolutely, man. Like I said, I really appreciate it. I was very excited that you even asked, and it was everything I hoped it would be.
And where can the people find you?
At Nerdicide on Instagram. And if you want to see my paintings and shit, paintings by NFK on Instagram. It's paintings_by_NFK.
There you go.
Outside of that, don't bother me.
Well, with that, I'm Nicholas from Pot of the Dead, and make sure and come back and listen to us, or else.
Pot of the Dead is recorded in front of a live studio audience. All production and editing by Nicholas Brown. Intro and outro music by 7 Doors.